So this thing is ridiculous. The dials on these new Save the Ocean models are so good. Today I have in the SPB297, and if you're looking for a Gran Seiko dial but are like me and on a Pro Specs budget, then this might be the watch for you. So I was going to do a 1 month on wrist video of my SPB147, which is probably my personal #1 pick in the growing lineup of 62 Moss inspired releases. There's so many videos out there on this though that I thought I'd borrow one of the newer models from Gem Bijou, the shop I work at in Toronto, and I gotta say I love this one. I might still do something on the 147 at some point in time, but for today we are focusing, if the camera will focus, on this beautiful watch modeled after the first ever Japanese dive watch that came out in 1965. These new interpretations are some of my favorite Seiko divers. I've, over the past year or two, taken a bit of a break from Seiko when it comes to new additions to my own collection, but in the last month or two, I have given two slots of the watch box back to Seiko. One is the 147 and also the new Seiko 5 GMT, and I've really been enjoying both. When it comes to this watch, it's just real hard to take your eyes off that dial. It's really got that wow factor. There was a total of 3 newly released Save the Oceans: the SPB301, the Willard with the white dial, the SPB297 with a lighter, icier blue dial and blue bezel than this one. I've seen them all in person, and if I had to pick the one I like the most, it would be a tall order because they are all seriously nice. I'd probably give the 297 the edge, but not by much. I'll hit you with the numbers here quick, then we'll get in for a closer look at that dial, and we'll start with the case width, which comes in at 40.6 millimeters. Lug to lug, 47.4 millimeters. The thickness is 14 millimeters, and the lug opening is 20 millimeters. Size on the watch is near perfect, at least for my wrist size. The crystal is sapphire with an anti-reflective coating, and the water resistance is 200 meters. The dial has that very Grand Seiko-esque texturing. Seiko is really taking their dial game to the next level. There's a couple new Presage models I might grab for a video soon that will blow your mind. They're just absolute stunning watches. Up top, we have Seiko printed in white. The print work is clean and crisp. Then we have the Prospex logo, automatic and divers, 200 meters down at the bottom section of the dial. Over at the 6 is the date, also in white. As far as alignment goes, this one's pretty good. The raised hour markers, minute track, and bezel are pretty well spot on. Working at the shop, I've been checking the alignment on a lot of Seikos, and compared to the older models we have, the new ones are getting a lot better. Not perfect, but they don't seem to be as far off as some of the older models. The loom is top notch like usual with Seiko. There's more intense loom out there on other Seiko divers, but you won't have any troubles getting the time deep into the night with this watch. So, the dial kind of steals the show here, but the case is a big highlight for me too. It's got a bit of a chunky side profile, but with that gradual curve of the lugs, it sits well on wrist. The finish work looks good. Nice, sharp lines where the brushed surfaces meet the polished edges. The crown is a screw-down crown. Good smooth action. The movement is the Seiko 6R35, which is a 24 joule movement. Power reserve of approximately 70 hours. I haven't checked this one for accuracy, but it can vary quite a bit with these. The bezel is a 120 click bezel with matte black ceramic insert, which almost helps accentuate the dial. The contrast between the blue and black makes the dial a little more punchy, I find. We've got that good old Seiko bezel action. Not quite as spongy feeling as some of the older models or some of the more affordables, like for example the 5KX. But if you were doing a blindfolded bezel action challenge, which as I say that actually sounds like a lot of fun, but if you were handed this blindfolded, you would know straight away that this was a Seiko. Seiko isn't particularly known for great bracelets, and this one isn't going to change that at all. It's okay, but there's a lot of play. The clasp is fairly well made, other than the thin stamped dive extension. We do have 4 micro adjusts to help get a good fit, though. One thing I have on my wish list from Seiko, especially with watches at this price point and up, is an on-the-fly adjustment in their clasps. I have it on my Tuna, but a redesigned, sleeker one would be nice to see. With this particular watch, I find these look better on a strap anyway, so I'd probably be putting this on a rubber strap if I owned it. And here it is on my 7¼ inch wrist, and this is just a gorgeous watch. Other than the bracelet, this thing is so nice. I forgot to mention the steel is using Seiko's super hard coating, which is going to help with scratch resistance. Cost on this one comes in at $12.50 USD, 16.25 Canadian here north of the border. If you're looking for one, definitely check out Gem Bijou. Link will be below. Really appreciate you taking a few minutes to stop by, and we'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.